we talked at the beginning about the importance of community anchors, and we have two anchors coming up to the stage now. So Tanya and Stephen, thank you very much indeed. We're going to talk about creating community and what it feels like to belong to Cranbrook. Thank you.
Thank you. Changes the slides.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so this first picture is a picture of St Martin's School during the build process. I was lucky enough to be appointed a year before we opened the school gates. So I was running Christhoniton Primary School, I was the head teacher there, preparing us to move to Cranbrook, move the 32 children there who would be the big first ever pupils in Cranbrook. And that's them there in the middle coming to visit their school for the very first time. The developers laid on a coach for us and took all the children and staff up. One of the little boys said, I think our new school's going to be a bit cold. And we explained that it would have some walls and some windows and some doors. It wasn't going to stay like that. And then that is something, that's the last photo is a photo from quite early on. We started with 32 children. We've now grown to 420 children over time. In the first year, we grew to about 100. In the second year, it was our biggest rate of growth. We grew from 100 to 250. So it was rapidly changing, constantly evolving, constantly changing systems, but very much at the heart of the community. And because we had the space then, we could put on all sorts of facilities for the community because we were kind of it in those very first days. We were also the church, so the minister and I worked very closely together to build the church and the school together, and a lot of events were church and school joint events. That picture at the end I really like, because I think what we've needed through all this is a lot of hope and a lot of resilience, and the rainbow is a sign of hope. And we've also had a lot of joy, and the rainbow is very much a sign of joy.
Thank you. And hello, I'm Steve Farmer, the head teacher at the Education Campus, a 2 to 16 establishment, currently with no Year 6 or no Year 11. So next year we will have all pupils. Like Tanya, we opened in 2015, so a couple of years later, but with 52 pupils across all the phases. We are now 550 in Year 4, and we'll be over 700 starting in September. So the rapid growth of the town, but also those are our pupils and our families, and we talk about being anchors, the wider community, the families, the uncles, the aunties, the grandparents that we work with. We also have, because we're a primary and a secondary, we have a large building and we have a lot of facilities that we can let out. Last year we had over 50,000 footfall through the campus in our wider lettings facilities, primarily physical activity with sports, dance, martial arts, but also scouts, brownies, cadets, working with a whole range of local organisations, and also then supporting the local toddlers, children's centre, and training for different schools and other educational establishments. So, when kind of Tanya and I were thinking about this, we live and breathe the heart of our community. That's what we do as our jobs on a daily basis. But to bring it back to kind of healthy new towns and the amazing impact that this programme has had on us, we've both benefited from specific projects for our schools. I will apologise there's no pictures, but also I can't put pictures because it's a very specialist provision. So one of the things that we really benefited from was a drama therapist coming to our campus 1 day a week to work with 4 of our pupils in a day, so one-to-one, and give them real highly specialist intervention. And they've really, really benefited from that. So an opportunity to explore their thoughts and feelings and their emotions through arts and drama. We've been working on that for 2 years, and the legacy, because I think it's really important today that we capture the legacy of this programme, is that part of that was our staff have been trained through the funding. So we will continue to develop in-house, but also work with the establishment to continue to provide drama and art therapy. We also worked with a brain in hand, a really innovative technological solution primarily to set up to combat pupils with ASD, so autism, Asperger's, real high anxiety, and to help them come up and co-create their own solutions when they find difficult situations. And they then had an app that they could access. So if they became stuck, if they walked into a classroom, there was a cover teacher, the first thing they could do is look at their app and think, right, what is my pre-programmed solution to this situation? What am I going to do next? There were traffic lights that would alert key staff, and the idea was, again, by co-constructing that with a safe adult, they were able to come across new situations and then develop new strategies to deal with that. In terms of legacy, again, we're going to pick that apart. We're looking at kind of continuing with the key adults to use that software, but also the co-construction and working with our vulnerable and pupils with SEND to really look at how they help us break apart their day and come up with the solutions to the challenges that they face. So that's two very specific projects. And then recently, and we're kind of going to split here, is we've been working with the Healthy New Teen, and we've been looking at the assets for success. There's kind of two parts to this. I'm just going to talk about resilience and confidence. We've been working with Kevin and the team, and it's, I've got a specific one, Imagine If, to look at how we do that. And we've been working with pupils across the Key Stage 2, Key Stage 3 transition point to look at what does it mean to be healthy and happy? What about well-being, mental health, and looking at all of those areas. So our pupils have been working with the team, and they've also created a beautiful drawing like the ones on your table that we will hopefully now get put up on the walls in the campus, where they've been trying to bring that forward, and they're going to help us lead the way with our mental health strategy. And it's just really important that they're able to talk about that. We have our 10 a day that we've adapted from the Early Help for Mental Health. We've got big boards on our walls. Those posters are in every classroom, so it's becoming common language to talk about our well-being, our mental health, as well as our physical health.
And I think one of the things that Stephen and I both want is to have those 10 a day for mental health up on every fridge in Cranbrook as well. And so we started that with our Year 5s, who are now mental health ambassadors, and they trained their parents last Thursday, and the poster went out in the newsletter, and I explained to the parents that that was our aim. We wanted one on every fridge in Cranbrook, so they all knew what they needed to do. It was really interesting when the children were working with Kevin and Louise. They were quite sophisticated, even the primary children, about their understanding of what needs to be at the core of your being to enable you to be successful. Some of them didn't have that yet, but their understanding of what they needed was there. And then once they had talked about themselves and what they needed for themselves to enable them to go forward in the world and be successful, they then were thinking about who helped them or what helped them. And the first thing that came up was people. And when you're looking at that idea of people and place, people are so important, and relationships are key to everything. Relationships have been key to us as we've grown the schools, and we're working between each other, and we're working in partnership. It is those relationships that are the glue that hold everything together. And then the children very much thought about place and safe places, and this idea of what is a safe place. And they were able to identify, the primary school children, places in the school that were safe. One place in particular was the fish tank. We have a big fish tank that our caretaker lovingly cherishes, and it is a really safe place to be, and it's very calming. Another place was our forest school. Another place was a little bench that had been erected in memory of a very sadly little boy who died in our school, and it's become a very special place for some of our children, and a place where they feel nurtured and safe because they were part of building that bench. So that understanding of the core of our being and of the people who are around us, and a sense of place, is within our youngest children. They really get that, and they get the importance of it. And I think Kevin's work brought that out. Where's my little thingy? We were able to benefit from two initiatives using the Healthy New Towns funding. One is we were able to bring in a very skilled Sherborne practitioner. I don't know if any of you know about Sherborne. It's something we do in school anyway. It's Sherborne Developmental Movement. It was created by someone called Veronica Sherborne. It's a form of movement play that enables children to feel confident in their ability to make relationships, and also feel confident in their ability to be in the world. And there are three aspects to it. Through this form of movement play, children learn to care for each other. Children learn to work together towards a common shared goal. And children also learn to work against each other with appropriate strength. And it's great for developing language. It's great for understanding some of those boys who rush out into the playground and just knock everyone flying like skittles. It supports them in understanding where their strength lies and how they can work and how they can develop those proprioceptive motor skills. It's brilliant for developing relationships. And what we were able to do with the money was to do a shared parent and child session. And I've got a couple of photos here. And again, joy is a word that springs to mind as you see that dad looking at his little boy. These children were chosen either because they lacked confidence, or they weren't very secure in their early movement skills, or there was maybe something going on which meant they hadn't been able to develop that really secure relationship with their parent in the early years. And one of the key things that Sherborne enables children and parents to do is communicate, and not necessarily through words. It can be through movement and through look, and that is really important if you haven't had a good experience of childhood yourself, and maybe you just don't quite get the importance of playing with your child and just being with your child. Then this is a way of learning it in a very non-threatening way. And the legacy from this has very much been that the parents involved in it have become much more confident about coming into school, much more secure in their relationship with us. And the legacy for the children is they are engaging in school in a happier, more carefree and risk-taking way, which obviously supports them as learners. The second project we had was a family vision project, and this has been written by a girl called Nina, or a woman I should say, called Nina Farr, who has looked at the effect of being in a relationship, a domestically violent relationship, and how sometimes through that you lose your sense of ownership of yourself, and you use your sense of able to be an architect of your own life. So it's not a parenting program. It's not about if your child does this, you do this, and if you do it 5 times, then eventually they'll stop doing that. It is very much about an empowerment program for parents who maybe don't feel that they're leaders in their own lives and leaders in their own families. And the impact that it's had on the parents who've been involved has been stunning. And some of them have said it is absolutely transformational. And as they themselves transform and look wider and look bigger and can see possibility within their lives, then that impacts on their children, and they suddenly think that it is quite important to listen to my child read, because that's going to give them these opportunities. It is quite important to come into school because I can make relationships with the staff in school and I can help my child. And some of the people have gone on to start their own businesses. One of the ladies started her own business. Another lady who was involved has gone on to start doing her maths qualification. She came to me this morning. She's going to Bicton to do a return to nursing course. She wants to be a midwife. So, there are real success stories that have come out. So there is a very much a legacy. The other legacy is that the groups that have done it together, we've run it twice now, have become a supporting network for each other within the community, and they lend each other their washing machine when the washing machine breaks down, or they'll be around each other's house when something bad has happened. And that's really important in a community that's starting from no history, from no neighbours who know each other. Those things have to be built, and trust has to be built over time. And I think both Sherborne and the Family Vision Project have enabled trust to be built between us and the parents, between groups of parents, and between parents and children, and they've both been really important projects.
Brilliant, thank you. And then finally, when we were kind of thinking about, well, what do? We do live and breathe this. We have got legacy from the projects that were specifically funded, but we work in partnership. We work with the same families, and that's Tanya's families. Then the 99% of them come to the campus, so they are our families. And actually, it's really important. And go back to what Kenji was saying. We need to make sure that actually we buck the trend, because at the moment we do have a lot of deprivation. We would be dark on the map, because from the front loading and with the deprivation and the SEND need. So we need to make sure that we're giving our young people and our families every opportunity to be happy, healthy and well. So we do this for a range of things. We work both schools work with Sustrans and Charlotte and the Sustrans team. Sustainable travel, we've got the big pedal starting next week and the week after. The pub have been absolutely brilliant. We're going to do Park and Stride, which I just think rings off it just comes really well. There's going to be lots of activities, but they've supported us with balance spiking, lots of cycling proficiency. We've got the Healthy Bodies. We've both endorsed Sugar Smart Family Dining, which I actually nicked from Tanya. I don't know if you want to talk about that a bit more.
It's just where instead of having a canteen system when the children come in and have a school lunch, They come in and they have a family service. So the food is laid out on the table, the vegetables, the bread in a basket, the salad, and the little ones are helped by grown-ups, but the bigger ones help themselves. And they sit for 25 minutes and they eat and they talk, and then they go out to play. The bigger ones come in, they've had their play, they've burnt off their energy, they come, they sit, they talk, they enjoy food, and then they line up calmly to go back to for the afternoon. And the impact of that has been more calmness in the afternoon, massively. A calmer return to learning in the afternoon, not unpicking squabbles from the playground, and also that we have hardly any food waste. We used to have so many children, and they were mainly boys who used to run in, grab whatever they could from the canteen, shovel a bit into their mouths on their way to the bin, chuck the rest in the bin and go out and play more football. And they don't do that now because they need to sit and talk for 25 minutes.
But they're digestive properly, but also cultural capital. We look at literacy and word gain, and by doing that and by having talk points, we will put things on the table. We're developing that cultural capital, and those habits where some of them don't have that. That might be their only meal, that they sit down and talk to somebody in a day. Obviously, we're going to be working with the Sport England team and linking in with that, and I can see the team in the room and getting as much funding as we can from them to run, brilliant, let's put that in there, to run very worthwhile events. Healthy Minds, we've talked about 10 a day. We also are, both schools, looking at the two main programmes through Early Help for Mental Health. We Eat Elephants is the primary specific programme to look at mental health and well-being, and then living life to the full. So we're implementing that. It's a student-led programme where we have mental health ambassadors. They go around and they feed into what we are doing, and we've been working hand in hand with all of the partners for that. Early intervention is really important. We both have nurseries. Tanya's talked there about kind of parental involvement, but also how we link. There is no children's centre at the moment, so they have done work at both our schools where they've come in and met with people. We've got the toddler groups, and we're also the hub area for the new PSHE programme. So we've just been looking at courses on domestic violence, gangs, sexual exploitation. So there's been huge amounts of work going on there and training all of the schools in East Devon for that. So it's been really nice to be the hub for that. And then partnership, we've got I think you've got music playing later. We've got Tanya's pupils and one of ours coming. We've mentioned lettings, but it's been great to be part of the PPG as well, the Patients Participation Group. I can see Sue in the room and Pauline there. They met with them earlier this week. We're going to have 4 members of the PPP group coming in to read with our pupils and work with them on the football club. And I know that you use a lot of readers at the St. Martin's, and just making sure that we engage. And I think going back to what we were saying, being at the heart of our community, being an anchor, I think we both are proud to be those anchors in our community and working together to do that. So thank you. That's us.
They deserve their coffee and tea now.
Thank you very much.